which you never knew existed.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to do an impromptu covering of the police report in the Palm Beach County election theft of the USB stick, because the report is a little interesting. And I want to give a hat tip to Badlander Sassy Gal for getting this over to me. Appreciate that. Was reading through it earlier today, and it's a little concerning. You guys could see the picture. That is the thumbnail of this guy, John Panici, reaching over to the system next to his and grabbing what appears to be a USB stick out of that. And I'll get this pulled up on the screen here just so that I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Oh, I just canceled out the screen I was intending to share. And so there you go. That is the image that was caught of him reaching over and grabbing whatever it could have been, the USB stick, out of that device next to him. So we're going to go over the report and also, kind of just refresh and touch base on some of the other cases that are strikingly similar, not exactly the same, but similar to this one right here that we've historically seen and pretty much gotten no resolve on. First, just real quick to recap what we're looking at. So John Maples lost a special election in Florida House District 87, which is actually the district where Mar-a-Lago is. So it is Trump's district. He won that district, I believe, by 11 points. I think in here it says 9 points, but I thought I had read he won by 11 points. But just real quick, Frank Kopylov put this out on X. He says, with nearly all the votes counted, Emily Gregory led with 51.2% to Maples' 48.8%, a margin outside the threshold for an automatic recount. It's funny how that always seems to work out, just so it's outside of the automatic recount. Don't want to raise any scrutiny, just right outside. I think 51 to 49 would have been the recount. I'm not sure what the recount laws are for municipal elections in Palm Beach County. It says the narrow victory came despite the district's recent Republican tilt. GOP incumbent Mike Caruso won re-election by 19 percentage points in 2024, and President Trump carried the area by about 9 points that year. Is this the one where, no, this is not the article from him where it talks about some of the postings, but we'll get into those in a minute here. So the story is this guy, John Panici, was working as a poll worker. He was training to be a poll worker on March 19th. And he took this USB stick out of a machine and brought it home with him. And so I figure we'll jump right into the police report itself, because that kind of lays out all of the details here. So let's go ahead and bring this up. I'm going straight to the narrative of the police report. So in other words, kind of like the statement of what happened, just because I don't want to dox this guy in any way. He is still innocent until proven guilty, and I don't want to put any of his publicly identifiable information out there on the interwebs. Let's get into this. It says on March 27th, so this is 3 days after the election. The election was March 24th. Detective Kukuvka, assigned to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's District 3 Detective Bureau, was contacted by Detective Sergeant Newcomb, who requested that I respond to the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections PBC SOE office located at 4301 Cherry Road. Upon arrival, contact was made with the facility's security manager, Christopher Allen. Allen advised that on March 19th, 2026, the facility hosted training for paid employees and volunteers who registered to assist. Okay, who registered to assist. That's a key. Who registered to assist with the election, which was set to be held on March 24th. So 5 days later. They're doing training a little late, considering I'm sure early in person had already begun by then, because we vote for like a month out now. Upon concluding training on March 19th, it was identified that a component utilized in conjunction with one of the voter registration kiosks was missing. So we're talking about basically the poll book areas in this, not a tabulator itself. Allen was later apprised of this, the security manager, and upon further investigation was able to determine that a subject who he identified as John Panici had stolen the component during his time participating in the training. Okay, so upon concluding on March 19th, it was identified that a component used in conjunction had been stolen. So why did we wait till 3 days after the election to have this arrest made? That should have been pretty conclusive based on the tapes that you're watching, but okay. A sworn interview was conducted with Allen, which was captured utilizing body cam. During this interview, Allen described that he was apprised of the missing component on March 23rd. So he doesn't learn about it until March 23rd, the day before the election, which prompted him to investigate further. Upon doing so, Allen utilized records from the facility's checklist and kiosk, as well as on-site surveillance cameras, which led him to discover that Panici had taken the component in question. We discussed the component, which Allen referred to it as an activator. An activator. The item was explained as being an encrypted key that was plugged into the voter registration device and allows the network access to databases that contain voter registration information. Being that this was a training day for individuals who were intended to assist with confirming voter registration on the day of the election, that particular activator that was taken was only formatted and encrypted to access training databases. Interesting. Even though the particular activator was only encrypted to access the training databases, representatives from the state supervisor of elections were concerned that if the device was to be reverse engineered or tampered with, that it could be utilized with malicious intent. Well, I mean, it's most likely, as I posted on X just a few moments ago, it's most likely this guy just wanted to steal a $4 USB stick so that he could upload his dank anti-Trump memes. We'll get to that in a minute. And that's totally sarcastic, by the way. The quote-unquote activator in question was described as a standard SanDisk brand USB drive that was black and silver in color with a label on it that indicated it was for training. When questioned as to how Allen identified Panici, he advised that each participant was required to check in via an electronic kiosk near the entrance facility. So that's important. You'll see why in just a second. Upon doing so, personnel were to provide a valid Florida ID. Imagine that. You have to show an ID to work at a poll, but not to vote in them, as well as the kiosk to capture. By the way, Florida, you do have to show ID. I'm totally being sarcastic. Hashtag California. Excuse me. So he had to provide a Florida identification as well as allow the kiosk to capture an image of their face. Allen advised that the kiosk purges the images of both the identification provided and the facial view. However, their names, addresses, date of birth, and timestamps for when the individuals arrive and leave are recorded. Based upon the timestamp provided by the check-in kiosk as compared to the surveillance footage, Allen was able to track when the subject checked in and compared it to the information input into the system. This was further corroborated by the fact that Panici was the only individual that day that was not already on the roster. Panici was the only individual that day that was not already on the roster, which required him to write his name in. So already that should be, I mean, that's a little concerning by itself. But then when you pair that with the guy stealing stuff out of there, encrypted devices, that's concerning. Allen provided these records, which clearly indicated that Panici printed the same name that was on the identification that was provided to the check-in kiosk. These records also revealed that Panici checked into the facility at 8:34 hours and checked out at 11:37 hours. From the view on the surveillance cameras affixed within the training room, Allen was able to identify that during Panici's training, he surreptitiously removed the activator from the kiosk next to his. Upon doing so, he appeared to conceal it in his pocket. I questioned Allen about the training, where he clearly articulated that none of the kiosk training materials or electronics should have been tampered with, and nothing should have been removed from the training environment by those participating in the training. Allen advised that there's a specific reset procedure that is handled only by staff conducting the training. This clearly nullified in any potential notion that Panici initially denied the claims. Excuse me, any notion that Panici had inadvertently taken the item. Okay, so there's a procedure. There's no way you could have effed that up. Allen explained that upon discovering Panici's misconduct, the poll worker manager, Theron Todd, made contact with Panici via telephone, where he allegedly confronted him about the theft. Why? Like, if you know it's him, don't confront him. Because what do you do when you confront somebody? You tip them off. And now they know, oh shit, they're coming to look. They're coming to see what I can take or what I took. And they destroy it. You just show up. You don't confront him. That was like the tip off. I'm not a fan of that move right there. Not saying that he's, complicit or anything in any way, shape, or form, but that's not a very smart idea. Like, if you catch somebody stealing something sensitive like that, something encrypted, you want to catch them in the act. You want to surprise them. Element of surprise. Allen was providing this information secondhand. However, he was advised that Panici initially denied the claims, but then later claimed that he did not mean to take it and that he had already discarded it. And that is why you want the element of surprise. You get a search warrant, you go there, and you seize it. You don't give them the opportunity to destroy evidence. Todd was not present at the time of his interview. However, Allen explained that the intent with contacting Panici was to inform him that based upon their findings, he was not going to be allowed to assist with the official election that was taking place on March 24th. So again, this arrest does not take place until March 27th. So they're aware of all of this before the election takes place. I don't know if they took any measures to ensure that, nothing was done. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm sure, this is an ongoing investigation. I'm sure we'll get more out of it. Allen advised that due to the activator that was taken being only encrypted access to the training databases in their terminals, they were able to complete the election on March 24th without having to change any security protocols. This, however, does not diminish the fact that by taking the activator, it rendered that kiosk inoperable until they were able to replace it accordingly. This also does not alleviate the significant security risk associated with an individual who possibly has malicious intent possessing this item. In other words, it wasn't just a $4 USB stick that he decided to steal in order to upload his dank memes. During my interactions with Allen, contact was able to be made with a representative of the State Supervisor of Elections IT department via telephone, where they were able to briefly provide a more in-depth understanding of the activator and the manner that it is used. Manner, M-A-N-O-R, instead of manner, M-A-N-N-E-R. Okay. During this interaction, many of the facts outlined above were reiterated. It was expressed that at face value, this activator does not have any significant monetary value, being that is just a generic USB drive loaded with pre-designed software. Created via VR Systems brand software, which is intended to grant access to certain features and databases via the voter registration kiosk. So intended to grant access to certain features and databases via the registration kiosk. Reverse engineer that encryption key, and who knows what you can do with that. Even though it was apparent that the financial loss was minor, it was explained that if the activator was to be manipulated or re-engineered, and was then reintroduced to their system, it could cause significant issues. Not a term that you use lightly in the climate that we're in right now with our elections. You don't just come out and make claims like that because you understand what the implications of making a claim like that could mean in the media narrative behind a situation like this. So when he says then reintroduced to their system, it could cause significant issues. That's a major problem, especially considering this guy was not arrested until after. They never recovered the device, and they went on and ran the election in which there was a major swing in that election. A county that had been trending more and more Republican. Remember, in 2024, the local incumbent won by 19 points. And now this guy ends up losing by almost 4 points, 3.5 points. Reading on. I was able to review portions of the surveillance footage which captured Panici checking in, as well as taking the activator. Based upon the footage provided, it was clear that upon checking in at the automated kiosk, Panici provided an ID card, which he appears to place back in his pant pocket upon completion. Upon reviewing footage of the actual theft, Panici can be seen sitting at the end of several small tables with what appears to have the voter registration kiosk lined out in stations. Panici appears to be conducting training and manipulating paperwork when eventually he reaches over to the kiosk sitting to the right of his, where he appears to intentionally pull the activator from the kiosk and place it into his right pocket. Panici can then be seen going up to the front of the room where he confers with supervisor of election employees for several minutes before eventually leaving the room. So this doesn't sound like, he inadvertently took it and put it in his pocket, never to go on about his daily business. No, he put it in his pocket, got up and left, got up and skedaddled right on out of there. It is clear in the footage that Panici intentionally takes the activator from the kiosk next to his. However, he does not do the same to the kiosk that he is utilizing. This clearly indicates that he took the device intentionally and clearly attempted to do so surreptitiously. As a result of the facts gathered within this investigation, it is clear that Panici willfully and intentionally stole a major component of sensitive computer equipment that was intended to be used to protect and gain access to sensitive computer systems and computer networks. But they went on and let the election run just as normal, no change in security protocols, the very next day. The very next day. And they were aware of this because they were tipped off on March 23rd, the day before. Did they go into panic mode? Like, oh no, what do we do? There was a breach. We have a piece of encrypted software, an encrypted key that's out there somewhere in the wherever sphere. No, they didn't. So that is the brief right there. So we're going to pause there for a second. I'm going to get some water because it's a lot of reading. All right, we got that. One person, one vote. Intended to grant access to databases of voter rolls. Yeah, that's another thing to me. I had a conversation with Sassy Gal, and it seems like that is an SOP to use a database for the training that is not an actual database. Now, I don't know how different the programming is, what the changes to the system are, like what type of influence you could have with that card, given you have now essentially the encryption keys where any hacker worth a damn would be able to figure out how to reverse engineer those keys and be able to utilize them for the ongoing election, right? The election that was coming up on the 24th. So interesting. That same article that we read earlier, the Frankie Kopylov posted these on March 30th. 26 is when he put this article out. On March 21st, Panici allegedly shared, well, not allegedly, it's his account, shared this meme here saying 2023 389 gas F Biden, 2026 389 gas smile at Trump with bombs and a halo, saying so true. And I think there were a couple other ones that have been reported, but I haven't seen them in that particular article. So I think it's worth it to go and kind of rehash. And again, this isn't going to be a very long stream. This is probably only going to be about another 20 minutes. So bear with me. But to rehash some of the past cases similar to this that have arisen. So this one's going back to June of 2024. So this is the 2024 election primaries. And this one's in Arizona, Phoenix. Worker accused of stealing from Phoenix election office. An election worker accused of stealing from the Maricopa County Tabulation and Election Center. Those of us who live and breathe elections and why we vote and our podcast and everything else know that we call that MetTech. The incident happened the morning of June 21st after Maricopa County elections workers identified an item that was stolen from the ballot tabulation center the night before. According to court documents, Walter Ringfield, 27, was seen on surveillance stealing a lanyard with keys and a fob attached to it. When confronted about the theft, Ringfield allegedly denied taking the keys and the fob. However, security working at the election saw the lanyard and keys inside Ringfield's car. Police later went to his home and arrested him. The lanyard and key fobs were found in his car. The missing fob was found inside of his home. So here's a story where the guy goes from denying it. Then they find the lanyard with the keys inside of his car. But you know what's not attached to the lanyard with the keys? The key fob. That's inside of his house. Interesting how that works. So you went from not stealing it at all to now detaching it from its device, leaving everything else that's not relevant in the car, and bringing the key fob into your home. Well, that's interesting. Ringfield allegedly admitted to stealing the fob, but said he, quote, gave it back after 20 minutes. Walter stated his reason for taking the fob was because he wanted to clean up. Court documents read, Walter said the job was temporary and he was trying to make it permanent. So he wanted to clean up. The fobs are used in conjunction with secure tablets for elections. Because the security fob was removed from the facility, all security fobs and secure tablets will need to be reprogrammed to secure the upcoming election. Court documents said this will cost Maricopa County elections $19,000. So there's one story. That was June of 2024 in the lead up to the 2024 primaries in Maricopa County. I believe that was the primaries. Hold on, let me fact check. That might have been the general election. When were the Maricopa County primaries for the 2024 election? I think it was July of 2024. So this was a month before the primary elections took place. So yes, that is correct. And then here's his, this is from the Maricopa County's attorney's office. This same guy was also charged with removing $9,500 worth of vintage jewelry from mannequins at the Phoenix Art Museum. That was on May 20th. On June 15th, he was captured on video surveillance at the Arizona State Legislature walking through a secured area and removing 7 challenge coins and 3 coasters. And then on June 24th, he stole the key fob. So he could just be a klepto. Who knows? Could just be a klepto. But definitely not a guy you want working around your elections. Definitely not somebody you want working around your elections. Here's another story that, some people may have missed that this one went completely unresolved. From the Associated Press, laptop USB drive stolen from Philadelphia election staging site. Computer thumb drives used to program Philadelphia voting machines were stolen from a city warehouse, along with the laptop of an employee from the machine's manufacturer. The items were stolen from a warehouse in the East Falls section. We quote, "We are confident that this incident will not in any way compromise the integrity of the election." Oh, you're confident that stealing USB drives and a voting machine employee's personal computer or work computer, somehow that's not going to compromise the elections. Nah, nothing to see here. The laptop did not hold any, quote, sensitive election-related data, end quote, and was not used for election programming, said Katina Granger of ES&S in Omaha, Nebraska. She said ES&S immediately cut it off from the vendor's network upon learning of the theft. I mean, how long does it take to make a forensic image of these systems to create a backup or to somehow mirror it so you maintain that access? I don't know. I'm asking that question genuinely. Granger said she was not able to address specifics about the stolen USB drives, including how many were taken and what was on them. Custodio did not answer emailed questions, including whether any of the 3,750 Express Vote XL touchscreen ballot devices might have been affected. They were in the same room. If you guys watched the demonstration I did with Mark Cook, it takes less than a second of plugging a USB drive into the system to change how that system counts votes. We did this live on air on Friday nights, Why We Vote, over on Badlands Media. And then it goes on to say, I don't think there's anything else. They bring out Eddie Perez of the OSET, the Open Source Elections Technology Institute, which is interesting because he's a former Hard Inner Civic guy, I believe. I covered him back in 2021 quite a bit. It says here, quote, "It is very, very common that a USB stick has a wealth of information that is related not only to the configuration of the elections and its ballot, and the behavior of the voting device, but also internal system data used to validate the election, said Perez. In principle, someone possessing the information on one of those USBs could disrupt the opening and closing of the devices in polling places. They could disrupt how ballots are displayed on the screen, and they could potentially disrupt counting votes on those ballots. An insider bent on tampering with election would only need to alter a subset of ballot marking devices to compromise voting. Again, this is a story that we never got any closure to. We never found out who stole those devices. We never figured it out. Never figured it out. CanCon, check out Midwest Swamp Watch video. By the way, I love Rick Weeble. He's awesome. Video from Minnesota County, double voting caught at the government center, early voting, much more to the story. I'll reach out. I'll check that out, and I'll reach out and see if maybe we can get him to do a segment with us. So let's keep going. We've got one more glaring case, and I'm sure there's a lot more. I'm sure there's a lot more cases of USB devices ended up missing. There was a case in Michigan where they found a Telet modem chip on the ground. Somebody had sent me that video in 2022 or so and asked me to look into that. So let's go ahead and bring this story up here. From the Arizona Independent, who hacked into Maricopa County's voter files and what data did they get? This is from the 2020. So remember, we talked about the Ringsfield guy from 2024, stole the key fob, brought it in his house, but totally didn't do anything mischievous with it. And then we have this story, another one that never got any resolution. 5 weeks after the FBI seized several computer hard drives from a resident in Fountain Inn Hills, the public still does not know why someone allegedly hacked into the Maricopa County Recorder's voter database, nor what information the hacker was able to extract. On November 5th, IT professional Elliot Kerwin signed a receipt for property seized from his condominium by the FBI, who were acting under authority of a warrant issued by U.S. Magistrate Judge Michael Morrissey. The warrant permitted federal agents to search Kerwin's home and vehicle for evidence of a conspiracy to commit computer intrusion from October 21st through November 4th, the days leading up to open voting, early and in-person voting, and, of course, Election Day on November 3rd. Computer intrusion is the fancy name for hacking. County recorders across the state sell general voter data to the public all the time, as it is helpful to candidates, political parties, and marketing companies. However, voter data is heavily redacted before being released to the public. For instance, a full date of birth is not released, only the year, nor is a voter's prior address within the county, their email address if on file, or the voter's signature, all of which is highly prized by identity thieves and others with nefarious intentions. Now, let's jump over real quick in the interest of keeping this relatively short. U.S. District Court, this was filed on 11/4/2020. This is the search and seizure warrant here. The property to be searched is in Fountain Hills, Arizona, includes vehicles located on the property. The premises are further described as a 2-story townhome. Jump down here. The property to be seized, including any vehicles, subject devices, will then be searched. Well, let's jump over to the receipt that was signed. And here is the receipt and what was taken. Now, I'm not a tech guy. I know when this report first came out, I'd sent this over and asked what you could do with this type of data or this type of hardware. And the response I got was, just about anything. Lenovo G780 laptop computer, 120 gigabyte Patriot Burst SOPID state drive SATA B, 60 gig Patriot Torch SATA solid state drive, Maestro hard drive, a Western Digitar hard drive. This is all the stuff they took from him, by the way. I don't think this is like he didn't steal all this. This is what he had. Hard drive with Master Dell OP, whatever, Opti 6x260. I'm assuming that's a scanner. Master Dell OPTI. Opti is, I thought, the scanners that they use. Patriot brand Torch SE 128 gig drive. Samsung 960, and the list goes on. Black Lenovo ThinkPad, a gray Dell computer, a bag of USBs, and a red Toshiba hard drive. Again, none of these ever got any resolution. Elliot Kerwin, if you look up his case, there's no updates to his case at all. Just kind of disappeared, gone, under the rug, nothing there. So you get a lot of these weird things, man, weird things. And I think that's it. I don't think I have much, else to really cover on this. I just wanted to get that police affidavit or the police report on the record. And I don't know. I'll go through the chat here, and then after that, I'll probably rage you guys over. Yeah, let me just real quick see if Zach's live. I'll rage you guys over to Zach. He is live, so I will rage you guys over to Zach. All right. Oh, Zach's over. Look at this. Look at this. This guy right here. Zach's over here reading my article.
3 weeks after they purchased a $30 million, 660,000 square foot warehouse just for the elections. Are you kidding me? You mean that you bought the warehouse and then 3 weeks later you already filled the whole thing up? Nobody believes that.
Nope.
Now, the argument regarding question 3, will the plaintiff be irreparably injured by denial of the return of the property? Of course not. Of course they're not going to be.
Does anybody know if he gave me credit on this? Let's go back and see. He's usually pretty good about doing this. Let's go back and see if Zach gave me a shout out. And then if he didn't, you guys got to go back and give him a ton of crap. All right. So if he doesn't, you got to give him crap.
Watches the show. In order for Fulton County to retain the records from, offered by the petitioners, Fulton County Clerk of Superior Court Jay Alexander and the elections group Ryan Macias. Ryan Macias, whose cousin watches the show. In order for Fulton County to retain the records from, I'm not on the freaking page. In order for, I didn't even show you the picture of Ed Martin, did I? History reopened last.
Oh man, I'm not going back far enough.
The information the FBI took. So I believe this took place on Friday. So everybody watching here knows, or maybe you don't because you're a new viewer. But first of all, no ists, phobes, or isms here. I am just who I am. In January, the FBI executed that search warrant at Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center. They seized over 650 boxes of material, all of it from the 2020 election. Huge brouhaha because not only was the FBI there, but also Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, was there. And that warrant was provided by a federal magistrate judge based primarily on evidence from 2 Georgia State Elections Board's complaints. We've talked about them on so many different occasions. The 3 petitioners trying to stop those investigations from taking place were Fulton County, the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, and the Board of Commissioners. Now, in their official capacities, meaning as the government entities, they petitioned the court to claw back those documents from the FBI and the Department of Justice. They claim that they were seized unlawfully and that this seizure violated First and Fourth Amendment rights of the petitioners. The Bill of Rights, human rights.
All right. I don't know if he gives credit or not, but you guys will have to go over there and give him hell. Give him hell. I'm just kidding. I'm sure he does. He's very good about that. All right, guys, smash that thumbs up. I am going to get out of here. Like I said, I'm just going to do this quick stream. So I will rage you guys over to Zach's show, which is kind of funny because he is literally talking about the article that I recently wrote, and I'm going to rage you guys over there. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Smash that thumb. Give me a follow. Hit the notification bell. If you're on YouTube, jump over to Rumble. Follow us over here. Rumble's a better platform anyways, and I know they're listening on YouTube for that kind of stuff. So they'll dock me like 100 followers for saying that. But I said what I said, and that's all there is to it. Guys, thank you all so much. Stay frosty. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Make the deep state motherfuckers pay for this.